So this summer we studied star spots on a star called Lo Pegasi. The dark central region of the star spot is known as the umbra, and it is the coolest region. The surrounding area is slightly warmer and slightly brighter, and it is known as the penumbra, and the surrounding area are filled with what we know as granules, which are convecting cells of plasma. Now, to understand why star spots are cooler than the surrounding area, we need to understand a process known as flux freezing. Flux freezing is basically when the star's magnetic field lines anchor themselves to the plasma. Now, it's important to note that the star exhibits something known as differential rotation, where the plasma around the equator rotates at a faster rate than the plasma around the poles. Keeping this in mind, when the plasma rotates at different rates, dragging the magnetic field lines with it, it causes the magnetic field lines to tangle and kink. It is at these locations that star spots are formed, mainly due to the fact that there's high magnetic tension at these locations, prohibiting the plasma from moving side to side. Since the plasma cannot move side to side, it disrupts convection. Since convection is the most efficient method of heat transfer in the outer layers of the star, the surrounding area is therefore cooler and as a result darker.
Okay, and for our project, we used a 0.3 meter reflecting telescope and a CCD camera that we placed on where the eyepiece would usually go on the telescope. And then we used a 4 different photometric filters. And as you can see, those would be the blue, visual, which is the green one, red, and infrared. And once we had those images taken, they originally looked like this, and you can see that it's fairly grainy and it has a slightly lighter outline to it, and that's partially because of atmospheric noise such as light pollution, and then also from camera noise as well. And once we subtracted those off, we got an image that was much sharper and clearer right here. And once we had those images of stars, we then had to find the intensities of each of the stars that you can see here, and we did that through something called differential aperture photometry, and that is what you see in these bullseyes right here. And the far left image here is Lo Pegasi, and that's the star that we did our research with, and it is a variable star, which means that its intensity gets brighter and dimmer over time. And it gets dimmer because those are the times when a star spot is facing us on the star, and then the star spot rotates back out to the other side of the star again. And that's where it gets brighter. And then we use the second star, which is called the comparison star, and it's supposed to be constant. It doesn't get brighter or dimmer. And we compared that with Lo Pegasi to make sure that any of the fluctuations that we were seeing in the brightness was actually coming from the star. And the reason why we used the comparison star was because as the Earth rotates, the stars will rise and will reach their peak, and then they'll set again. And when the stars rise and they're closer to the horizon, which is right here, you are seeing them through more atmosphere, and that causes some light to be blocked, which makes stars look dimmer when they are closer to the horizon. And with the comparison star being the comparison star was so close to Lo Pegasi that any differences in brightness from the atmosphere are the same for both of these, which means that any brightness changes that we see in Lo Pegasi are definitely coming from the star and not from light pollution. And then this third star down here is a check star, which is basically a double check to make sure that our comparison star actually is constant. And once we had these data points for the intensities, we made a light curve like this. And this light curve, as you can see, it gets dimmer here, which is where the star spot was facing us. And we used a light curve inversion algorithm made by Dr. Harmon that took all this data and tried to make a star image that looks like this, that has that has star spots in it, that would make that if this star looked like this, it would have the same light curve as we found in the data. And as you can see, we have images that we have created of star spots for the past 6 years, and you can see that the stars have gotten brighter, or the star spots have gotten bigger and smaller, and some have disappeared over time, and we are hoping to use these images to better understand how star spots act and how the star's magnetic field acts.
Previous papers have found that a rotational period of 10.17 hours best fit their data. However, for the last 2 years, we found that a rotational period of 10.153 best fits our data.